I want to be very, very clear. I want to be very clear here. Now, a lot of people know that Ben Burgess and I had like a very interesting encounter or series of encounters last year over his opinion on January 6th. Ben and I had a conversation about this. He came on the show, which I appreciate. And I just want to say, I'm very interested in having another dialogue. If Ben Burgess comes across this video, if someone wants to send Ben Burgess this video, and if we want to have another discussion about this, I'm very interested in having more dialogue about the subject. But I saw some clips of his appearance on the Joe Rogan show, and I am extremely disappointed. As a trans person, I know many people might not know this. As a trans person, I take this stuff extremely seriously. Later on in the program, I'm going to be talking about how Steve Bannon, Eric Prince, Marjorie Taylor Greene have been basically calling for a genocide of trans people on their podcasts. Alex Jones has been calling for a genocide of trans people. They openly have been calling for a genocide. Steve Bannon said that he is pro-Putin because Putin wants to kill trans and gay people. We see what's going on in the state of Texas. The state of Texas, the government itself has endorsed the genocide of trans people. We are seeing a genocide. And I'm saying that word over and over and over again because I need you to understand, being a fence sitter on genocide is not okay. It is not a difference of opinion. It is not this. It is not that. I don't care what you are talking about. And so this whole, I haven't seen this whole clip. I just saw a couple minute segments of this. I don't know what he all talks about in this, but I was told that he talks about trans people in a really bad way. I saw a clip. I was not a fan of the small clip. This is a 13-minute video, so there's going to be more here than I am familiar with immediately, and so I might get very upset. I might, I might not. But again, I want to be very clear. I used to respect Ben Burgess. I loved his, his segments on the Michael Brooks show. That's where I first heard of him. I bought his book, his first book. I used to be a fan of him. I don't know why he is, doing these weird things when it comes to January 6th. And I know that he's got a lot of really bad takes in this clip here, because people have shown me other smaller versions of this clip. And I don't know why this is something that Ben Burgess would do. But here he is talking about Dave Chappelle and cancel culture and trans people on the Joe Rogan show.
Political power. They might, influence to a certain extent the way people.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Comedians don't and really can't exercise political power. They might, influence to a certain.
Okay, so first of all, we're talking about canceling comedians because that's what his book is about. And so comedians having political power. Celebrities have political power, right? You can measure someone's political power by how many people will listen to them. Joe Rogan, for example, has extremely high amounts of political power. The idea that you're going to say, already we're in the first 8 seconds, the idea that you're going to say that politicians or comedians don't have political power, I mean, I think that that's weird.
Certain extent, the way that people think about certain things, but nobody who's doing comedy is making decisions, that directly impact people's lives. So
I disagree. When you go on a show that has 12 million subscribers on YouTube, I don't know how many listeners he has on Spotify. When you go on there, right, and say trans people are destroying, quote, real women, again, you are infecting people with a mind virus that is going to make them flock to far-right politicians that are making the decisions, right? So again, this is why everything is political. Everything is political. If someone can be convinced to hate trans people and then support a anti-trans politician that is going to be doing something like in Texas, for example, declaring a complete and utter genocide of trans people, that's what the state of Texas has declared, that they want to murder all the trans people in the entire state. They've declared that. Any other interpretation is wrong. Now again, I don't hate Ben Burgess. I don't think he's a bad person. But this is, what he's about to do here, in my opinion, is horrendous, far-right, neo-Nazi propaganda, and it is not acceptable.
So if you were actually trying to do that, like if you're actually trying to affect real change, this doesn't make any sense. What I think it is it's a symptom of how extreme this kind of moralistic approach is.
Now again, we're talking about Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle was, quote, canceled, and then got 6 more Netflix specials. So his most recent Netflix special, The Closer, was supposed to be his last one. Then he got canceled, quote unquote, and now he's got 6 more specials. He signed a deal with Netflix for 6 more. That's what cancel culture is. So again, this is what they're talking about.
Politics can get, right? That like you're this concerned with like constantly, testing, whether somebody is a good person or a bad person, or they ever said anything that, that might show them to really be a bad person, and nothing can ever just be a bad moment, right? That, that it has to be like, this is the moment where you really revealed the...
So again, if Dave Chappelle would have made these horrible jokes and then people canceled him, so to speak, and he was like, and then he came out and said, you know what? I get it. I didn't really think about it at the time, and I understood. People sent me a lot of articles. I understood that I am engaging in culture that is really hurting a lot of people, and I'm sorry for that. Fine. That would have been great. Dave Chappelle doubled down and said, yeah, the trannies are fucking mad at me. By the way, I got 6 more specials. So again, if someone makes a mistake, if someone does something bad, and they apologize, that's amazing. That's what we need to do. And this is why I'm criticizing Ben Burgess again. Because if he comes out here and says, I fucked up on Joe Rogan's show, I should have been I shouldn't have done this, I made a really bad point, and it really, then that's fine. And I want him to do so, and I want to provide Ben Burgess a platform to do so. So if Ben wants to come on my show and tell me, that he fucked up and wants to give his real opinions on trans people, I would love to give him that opportunity. And I would love for people in my chat to tell him that I'm giving him that opportunity, or if someone else wants to give him that opportunity. But again, this is unacceptable. Like, what he is doing here is unacceptable.
How toxic your soul was or something, rather than just like you said something stupid, because sometimes people say things that are stupid. That's I think that kind of moralism, when it's applied to comedy, I think that's like maybe the most extreme symptom of what I'm talking about, because it's one thing even to get mad at somebody because like of something they wrote like in an editorial, right? That they're telling you like exactly what they think should happen. That like if I write something for Jacobin and some people get upset about that, okay, at least it's a Jacobin article. I'm literally saying exactly what I think, right? But if you're doing, a account like so that last Dave Chappelle special at Netflix, that people got mad about, and which by the way I hadn't even watched, but since I'd written this thing, people kept asking me what I thought, and I finally watched it, and I thought that the way that it was portrayed as if it were this like just festival of transphobic hatred was ridiculous. That in fact the overall theme.
Ben Burgess, please talk to a trans person about Trans Issues Challenge. Please, for the love of God. Please, 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 for the love of God. If you think Dave Chappelle's, quote, festival of transphobia was no big deal, you are wrong. In his special, he explicitly misgenders his, quote, friend, who is a dead from suicide trans woman. He specifically, the point of the joke is to call her a man. That's the punchline. His joke was, quote, like she's the best father I've ever seen or whatever. The point of the joke, the punchline is lol tranny. That's the punchline. To say that that is not transphobic requires you to be a fucking idiot. And again, if Dave Chappelle were to come out afterward and say, yeah, it was a joke, it was fucked up, but I don't actually hate trans people, I probably shouldn't have made the punchline of my joke, just misgendering them. That was really poor and lazy, and I fucked up. If Dave Chappelle would have done that, great. He didn't do that. He doubled down, went on a cringe tour, and now he's got 6 more fucking specials. Ben Burgess does not think that this is a big deal because he is a cisgender white guy. Let's be honest. He thinks, oh, I'm not trans. I don't care. And again, note the context of this. There is again, in Texas. Now, I don't know if this was recorded before the announcement in Texas. It might have been. But again, over half the states in this country have been getting bill after bill after bill restricting transgender rights. Transgender murder rates are skyrocketing in this country. Transgender suicide rates are increasing in this country. The context. We have sitting members of Congress like Marjorie Taylor Greene advocating to beat the shit out of transgender people for fun. And Ben Burgess chooses now to make these comments. This is unacceptable. There is no possible interpretation of this that makes Ben Burgess look good. He needs to apologize. Full stop.
The special, as far as those issues go, was about him like moving towards a place of greater understanding, and and
it's also kind of a love letter to his friend that committed suicide for supporting him, was attacked for supporting him.
This is a lie. This is a lie. nobody, quote, attacked Dave Chappelle's, quote, friend over this. That never happened. If you look at all of her Facebook and Twitter and social media posts from before she killed herself, you will find literally zero. Because I looked, and I found a couple after she killed herself of people complaining, right? But before she killed herself, there were zero, quote, attacks from, quote, her own community. This is a lie. This is a lie, and the effect of this lie is that, oh, Joe Rogan's going to claim, oh, the trans community basically bullied her into suicide, man. It's the trannies' fault. That is a lie. That is a lie. He is lying. If Ben Burgess wrote a book about canceling comedians, right, and is wanting to sound intelligent on this, he should know what the fuck he's talking about. This is a lie that Joe Rogan is saying.
And then she jumped off a fucking building and committed suicide. This is like an homage to this person's life and this long part of it. Like, I worked with Dave during the entire time he was piecing that together, because we started doing shows in Austin like November of 2020. It might have even been earlier than that. And we were working together while he was putting it together. And he was responding to this idea that he was transphobic. And he was saying, like, this is so crazy. Like, this is who I am, and this is about this person who, when I was accused of being transphobic, this person defended me and was dragged by people.
That is not true. This is not true. This, again, is not true. I covered this, but the roommate of the person in question was made a post about the last few days and stuff and how they interpret it. Again, this is not true. The idea that, oh, she was dragged and attacked by her own community is literally fake news. It is bigoted, transphobic propaganda. That's it.
And there's been some talk of whether or not, like, how much of that was creative license, because, like, people tried to find, like, what the tweets were.
Yeah.
Like, how many of them were DMs? Like, we don't know. I mean, I don't think you could dismiss that. Or how many of them?
Oh, so now he's going to bake my critique in. Oh, people looked into this and found that there were no actual comments of her being dragged. She got dragged. Oh, well, where are the comments? I don't know. They might have been DMs. We don't know. Notice that. Because people have probably told Joe Rogan, yeah, there's no evidence for this. Well, if there's no evidence, then who knows how many of them were DMs? By that same token, who knows how many of them were DMs from transphobic Dave Chappelle fans who are harassing her from that position? If evidence is not required to make a claim, all right. How do we know Dave Chappelle himself didn't DM her and say, lol, tranny, haha? How do we know that? Again, this is disgusting.
Actually knew her personally, but then committed suicide. And, like, this is, like, trying to make, it's the highest form of comedy in a lot of ways, because you're trying to take this, like, socially sensitive issue.
The highest form of comedy is mocking a dead trans woman for killing herself? That's the highest form of comedy? Now, again, Joe Rogan is an out-and-out disgusting, evil, neo-Nazi adjacent scumbag when it comes to trans issues. Honestly, let me fix my statement. A disgusting, evil, neo-Nazi scumbag when it comes to trans issues. He is a piece of human fucking garbage. So, and you know that already. Ben Burgess already knew this. He already knew he was going to be talking about trans issues on Joe Rogan's show. How could he not? He wrote a book about canceling comedians. The biggest story recently was Dave Chappelle, and the biggest problem with that was transphobia. Of course, Ben Burgess knew going into this that he was going to be talking about trans issues. Should he have studied? Maybe he should have reached out to a trans person. Maybe he should have known about this case. He did none of that. What? And the highest form of comedy is harassing a dead trans woman. What?
And extract laughs from it, which is very difficult to do, but in no way was it transphobic. In no way was it hurtful.
The punchline was, lol, you are trans. That's the punchline. Haha, you're a man. That's the punchline. That was the joke. That was the joke. How is that not transphobic? In what world? In what world?
Or cruel or mean.
Well, I mean, actually, he spent a couple minutes in the special explaining why the bathroom laws in North Carolina were cruel.
Yes.
Ben Burgess is now doing defensive propaganda to defend someone's transphobia instead of just saying, yeah, that joke wasn't that good. Like, you can, let's assume, all right, oh yeah, the joke was really bad and in poor taste, but I don't think that necessarily makes him transphobic. Okay, I disagree with that. But at least that's a position, yeah, like the joke was bad, the joke was transphobic, but I don't think I think he just fucked up. Okay, that's an interpretation. But instead of having that interpretation, Ben Burgess is like, nope, not transphobic at all. Not transphobic at all. In fact, the whole show was good. In fact, he was pro-trans. What?
And like at the end, like when he's talking about his dead friend, like one of the crucial moments comes when he's describing their like back and forth, you know, when he had her open for him, and
yes.
And
it's hilarious.
Yeah, which is a hilarious thing. But there is this like really moving part of it, right at the end, where she tells him, like, I want you to recognize that I'm going through a real human experience, and
yes.
like it really sinks in that. And the idea that watching this would make somebody more transphobic just seems absurd to me.
No, it's not. I am a trans person. Okay, I made videos about Dave Chappelle when it happened. I got hundreds, if not thousands, of comments from Dave Chappelle's fans calling me a tranny, calling me a man in a dress, calling me stupid, accusing me of bullying someone into suicide whom I didn't even know. Thousands of comments on my, you can go look at them. You can go search Dave Chappelle on my channel and go look at the comment sections yourself. So to say that is absurd, that someone would take away from that transphobia, you are wrong. And again, Ben Burgess isn't a trans person. He doesn't know or fucking care. He doesn't know or give a fuck about trans people. This is disgusting. This is, again, neo-Nazi propaganda. He is embracing propaganda that is attacking trans people in this. Ben Burgess, what you are doing is unfucking acceptable. Anyone, the Majority Report, David Feldman, right? Anyone that wants to bring Ben Burgess on their show needs to talk to him about this. Or if he wants to come on my show, Ben Burgess needs to apologize. There's full stop. There is no way I will accept anything less than an apology from him. He needs to understand this because he is parroting neo-Nazi propaganda and it's getting worse.
But what people did, right, is they literally quoted individual sentences that he says in it. Like there's one point in the special where he says, I'm a TERF, right? TERF standing for trans exclusionary, radical. Yeah, and it's like, okay, but literally within like 2 minutes of him saying, I'm on Team TERF, he says, I'm not saying that I don't think trans women are women. It's like, well, hold on, right? Like, exactly. if you take both of those literally, right, those two don't go together.
Right.
But of course, that's not how comedy works. That's like thinking that like somebody who writes a novel, that like every sentence of the novel is like what they actually personally think is true. Yeah. But I think, and I've got to think that a lot of people.
If Dave Chappelle after the special came out said, yeah, I disagree. I made a bad joke and poor taste. That would have been one thing. Okay. He didn't do that. He doubled down. He mocked more trans people and got 6 more specials.
Who write articles like this must understand that on some level, right? That like this is not how comedy works. But I think that, sometimes it's like bad faith. They're just being dishonest. There's definitely some of that. But like also I think that like sometimes if you get this invested in like making these like moral indictments of people over these culture war battles, then
this is not culture war battles. The murder rates of trans people are skyrocketing. There's legislation in half of this country's states to basically murder trans kids. People are fleeing Texas for their safety because the government of Texas said, if you have a trans kid, you will go to prison. This is not a culture war issue. This is not what's your favorite pizza topping. This is not what's your favorite sports team. This is not what's your favorite video game. Ben is not helping. It's not that he isn't helping Bob Carmody. It's that he is actively hurting. This is disgusting.
You're just not even pausing to think about that. Like you're just like trying to find evidence. Like you're just like sifting through it to like find like it's like Freddie DeBoer, the commentator.
Yes, I will say yes. Some people go overboard with their cancel culture garbage. Absolutely. Does that mean that it's okay to mock trans people over and over and over and over and over again as a rich millionaire? No. Yes, there are some people that go overboard. Okay, and? Does that mean all of a sudden that everyone should have a free pass to say whatever the fuck they want?
Okay, so Freddie DeBoer is a writer. He wrote a really good book about the education system called Cult of Smart, and he has this essay from a few years ago called Planet of Cops, where he says that it seems to him that like increasingly everybody in the culture is a cop now, right? What he means by that, and he develops the metaphor. He says things like, oh, there's a new movie that people are getting excited about. Well, give me 2 hours and 500 words, and I'll find you your indictments, right? That it's like that's sort of constantly sifting through things to like find evidence that people have committed some kind of sin or infraction. And I think that like that's how people are approaching that. Like when they
if Dave Chappelle would have apologized, this would not be this way. Again, yes, people go overboard. And then like let's say someone does apologize and make amends, right, for their fucked up joke, and then they still go overboard. Yes, that exists. Those people exist. Does that mean, oh, if someone is criticizing you, you should never apologize? Like, again, I'm going to be very clear. I am not trying to cancel Ben Burgess. I want Ben Burgess to realize why he is wrong and change his position. Ben Burgess went on a platform. Look at this video. 400,000 views in less than 24 hours. 400,000 views in less than 24 hours. Seeing a so-called leftist agree with Joe Rogan on trans people. This is not okay. No one should think that this is okay. I'm being very honest. Everyone that platforms Ben Burgess needs to ask him about this, and Ben Burgess needs to publicly apologize. This is not okay. This is not okay. Ben Burgess should not be going on David Feldman's show and having fun, oh, look, you're so funny and cool. I know you hate trans people and you're pushing conspiracy theories that get them killed, but the Majority Report should not have Ben Burgess on their show. Oh, yes, we care so much about trans people, but we're going to have Ben Burgess on a show to talk about his Joe Rogan appearance where he just promoted transphobic conspiracy theories. That is not okay. He needs to apologize. And if he does apologize, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm not here to cancel Ben Burgess forever. I'm not at all. But when he's going out there and giving Joe Rogan cover for his transphobic conspiracy theories, quote, from the left, he is going on there as a leftist, as a Marxist. He's going on there as a Marxist to agree with Joe Rogan on trans issues. That is not okay. That is not okay at all.
Wrote these articles, about, how, oh my God, did you know that Dave Chappelle said that he was on Team Turf? In that special. Like, look, there's a mission, right? You gotta get those indictments, right? So you just have to sort through all of it until you can find something that that looks like a smoking gun of evidence. And I think that it's obviously it's a terrible way to write about anything. But I think what's interesting to me about the example of comedy is that it's sort of the most absurd possible application of doing that. Because, I mean, just to be like simplistic about it for a second, right? Like, if you're saying something in a stand-up special, like generally speaking, not every sentence, but like you're saying it because you think it's funny, right?
Yeah.
That's which is just a different thing from saying something because like, oh, here is exactly what I think, right?
It's like the example that we were talking about before the podcast, which I'm not going to do because it's actually in my act now, of that someone put a quote that I said in an article about what a piece of shit I am. I'm like, hey, you got to put the whole quote because there's like a lot more to that, and it's clearly joking, but it's that thing that they do is also because someone is getting a disproportionate and exorbitant amount of attention. And when someone is like a Dave Chappelle or myself who's got a disproportionate amount of attention, there's so many people that want to look at that and go, flaws, holes, but throw rocks. And it's a normal thing to have this sort of reaction to someone who you feel either their take on things isn't valid, or it's not. It doesn't align with your own, or there's a reason why you're morally superior to them because your position is better.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of that, and it's also, I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about the BLM protests and the aftermath and all that stuff. Like, if you get somebody, like if I mean, obviously in cases high profile, it's like Dave Chappelle, like Netflix isn't going to dump him because like why would they do that? Like that would just be putting like a lot of money on the.
Well, not only that, but there's no reason to. Right. Here's the thing: it's like if Dave Chappelle was saying all trans people who die should die, and they're not human. Okay, yeah, get rid of them. Right. Everybody would agree though. You shouldn't put that on your network. But you cannot look at any of the things that he said and rationalize any of these accusations that people have towards him. He is not that guy. He's a lovely guy. If you meet him, he's one of the kindest, nicest, sweetest guys. And that's who he really is.
And it's really
reminder: Dave Chappelle just went to like a council meeting and killed an affordable housing plan for his community. But he's a great guy. He's a great guy. As a Marxist, I love killing affordable housing for my community. Love Dave Chappelle. He's a great guy.
Striking too, because if you remember when all this was going on, there was like a week of the news that was all about how there was going to be this huge walkout of trans employees at Netflix. Remember this?
Yeah, they took like a lunch break. There was like 5 of them.
Yeah, there were like 5 people. It's not even clear that they all worked at Netflix.
No.
That is not true. There were multiple people in multiple offices, in multiple Netflix offices that walked out. It was not 5 people. And again, Why are you mocking a protest? You're a leftist Marxist mocking people for protesting and speaking up about their treatment at Netflix. Why are you doing that? Ha ha ha! Only 5 people protested. Oh, the black people! There's only 5 blacks protesting against police brutality. Who cares? There's only 5 of them. There's only 5 Jews protesting Adolf Hitler's new laws. There's only 5 of them. Whatever. Ignore them. Ha 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 ha.
Most of them didn't, and then the one of them that was there, they found a whole bunch of racist shit that she put on Twitter, and they're like, hey! And then not even jokes, just like racist stuff. It's like, God.
Does that automatically mean that trans people should be looked down on? Oh, there was a trans person who made a fucked up joke, therefore all trans people are evil.
God damn it. I get what's going on. These are like, they're humans. Yeah. Humans are flawed. And, you know, just because they said a thing that was incorrect doesn't mean that they're, whatever position they have, they can't have a good perspective on something.
Yeah, and what kills me about that example is at that very moment that was going on, right? That there was this, like, super hyped up, you know, walkout that, like, got all this attention. There was, like, 2 people on their lunch break or whatever. Like, at the same time, there was the John Deere strike going on. That was, you know, thousands of people, you know, were out on strike for, to get better.
So now Ben Burgess is going to say, oh, transgenders were distracting from the John Deere strike. Huh? Huh? Everyone I know was talking about both of those things. What is this? Seriously, I'm asking you this. I hadn't watched this whole clip here yet, but this is horrible. This is horrible. This is neo-Nazi propaganda. That's what this is. This is neo-Nazi propaganda. The trannies are taking up so much time. Who cares about the trannies? The John Deere workers, they're great. Unless they're trans. Then fuck them.
You know, wages and working conditions.
John Deere the tractors?
Yeah, yep. The workers. Yeah. If you go,
I believe it. But I mean, I never heard a peep about that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? So, like, you compare the scale of the 2 things, and then you compare the scale of the coverage.
Right. One of them is jokes, but it's also jokes from the greatest living comedian. That's part of the problem. It's like you, and also a guy who you sort of associate with left-wing values and progressive values, and you want him to fall in line. And I think that's part of the blowback is that, you know, they want to shame him into falling in line with their ideals. And one of the things he said, like when we talked about the special, and this was we did a show together, and he did a speech at an arena, and he's like I am not going to comply with the way you want me to think and want me to behave. That's not what I'm doing.
Yeah, and again, like, what's his response going to be realistically? Like, he's just going to
keep talking shit. That's what he's going to do.
Right. I mean,
it's going to be funnier and funnier.
Right. You know, but like the idea that, like, saying, like, he's a terrible person, he's a transphobe, like, is going to get him to, like, see things more from your perspective. In fact, he talks about this in the special, right? That, like, he has the thing about the woman.
I have no problem with disagreeing with Dave Chappelle and having a conversation with him. Anyway, there's another clip that I saw that's not in this one, but I do want to point this out because this is honestly even worse. This is the worst thing that I saw. This is horrible. This is horrible. And you can see, I tweeted about this earlier. You can read my tweet if you'd like, but this is horrible. This is where they go into trans issues. Again, this is horrible. This is neo-Nazi propaganda.
Hormones or whatever. Like, I have absolutely no idea, but again, I think that it's...
Ben Burgess knew he was going to be talking about trans issues on Joe Rogan's show, and he did no research. Why? He doesn't give a fuck about us. He doesn't give a fuck. And he actively is engaging in, quote, culture war battles that are getting us killed. He doesn't give a fuck. If I were going to go on Joe Rogan's show, I would probably study for things that we're more likely to talk about so that I don't look like a fucking idiot. This is disgusting. This is disgusting. And again, honestly, I'm going to be very honest with you. Until he apologizes for this, I don't give a fuck what he has to say. And if I see people like Majority Report or David Feldman give this guy softball interviews and be nice to him, I'm going to be disappointed with them too. I can't take them seriously when it comes to trans issues if they are not going to push back against this. I cannot take any of those people seriously at all on trans issues if they will not push back against their so-called fucking friend when he's engaging in neo-Nazi conspiracy theories against trans people at a moment like this.
This is not, like, in terms of things that I'm going to get, like, mad about, right? You know, on a day-to-day basis, right? Like,
well, you would if you had a daughter that was competing against that person.
Yeah, maybe.
Someone who had been training their whole life.
Yeah, maybe. If my daughter was, quote, destroyed by a tranny, maybe I'd be upset. Maybe. Huh. Huh.
Life to be an elite swimmer and a dedicated massive amount of time, and someone came around that had a massive biological advantage.
Yeah, although of course if
A massive biological advantage. Huh. But it's the trannies that have the biological advantage. Like, for example, what if someone was 5'3" and trained their whole life to be a basketball player? And then it turns out, fuck. There's people with these biological advantages. They're 6'3". Biological advantages. Look, they have biological advantages. What?
if I had a trans daughter, you know, then I'd want to make sure that whatever the rules were going to be fair to her too, which is why, like, again, you know, like what the right sort of exactly where the rules should be set.
Do you think if you had a trans daughter and your trans daughter competed as a male for many, many years and was just sort of mediocre, and then all of a sudden competed as a woman and started dominating, don't you think you'd feel a little
Dominating!
bit of guilt?
I mean, I guess it depends how much she was, you know, like how much we're talking about, right? Like, because like I think in that
he's just accepting the propaganda. Ben Burgess went on Joe Rogan's show as a leftist to embrace neo-Nazi propaganda about transgender people.
The meat case, the UPenn thing that you mentioned earlier. If I'm remembering right, like, and maybe you can correct me on this, like what I know about this is like scrolling through Twitter, you know, like, you know, what I saw.
Huh, so you went on Joe Rogan's show and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. What an ally. What an ally.
But like, I don't think that she even won by that much, did she? Or did she?
Giant amount.
Giant amount?
She breaks
how much did she win by? I thought she was...
Okay, let's find out. She's breaking records. I mean, she's breaking records in multiple meets.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again...
I mean, this is the thing. It's like there's a video of her literally lapping the other female swimmers.
Hormones or whatever.
Now again, if Ben Burgess wants to come on my show and publicly apologize for this, I would love that. If Ben Burgess wants to go on the Majority Report and publicly apologize for this, I would love that. If he wants to go on Feldman's show and publicly apologize, I would love that. But everyone needs to know what this guy has done. This is fucked up. This is fucked up. This is fucked up. There is no, oh, but if, this is fucked up and he needs to apologize. Full stop. If he doesn't apologize, as far as I'm concerned, he is no different than Steve Bannon. Because I'm going to play a clip from Steve Bannon next. And to me, honestly, I don't see the difference in their opinions on trans people from Ben Burgess to Steve Bannon. This is fucked up. This is beyond fucked up. This is disgusting. And you know what? Honestly, I'm considering burning this motherfucker's book live on stream. Because the fact that I own a piece of this motherfucker's literature is making me very upset. Fuck this. He needs to apologize. Everyone, in fact, everyone, honestly, what you should do is retweet this post. And tell Ben Burgess to fucking apologize. Ask him to again, I have no problem with having him on my show. I have no problem with having a respectful conversation with him where I tell him how he fucked up and he apologizes. This is unacceptable. We cannot allow this in left-wing spaces. Now, again, call it cancel culture, whatever. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck what you want to call it. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. So feel free. Just seeing his, like, banner right now. I'm not even... no. Feel free to just tweet at him. Tell him that this is unacceptable. I want Ben Burgess to be a person that is capable of understanding how he fucked up. I want him to be that person. He's retweeting. I can't even. I can't with the, I can't. I just can't. It's horrible. Watching this is horrible. This is horrible. And he's proud of it. Look at it. Look at his profile. Look at it. Look at what he's retweeting. He's proud of it. Good job, retweet. I have an extra 1,300 followers. You should do this and that. Look, he's so proud of his interview. He's talking about Michael Brooks. Wow, that's great. I'm glad. I wonder if Michael Brooks would approve. I don't want to do that, but like it's just, this is just like he's proud of it. Like to him, this is like an achievement. He's upping his gamer score. Yeah, look, I made it on Rogan's show. Talking about left-wing values. Talking about how the trannies are destroying female athletes. And how the trannies bullied someone into suicide. Fuck the trannies. I'm a leftist, by the way. I'm sorry. This is so offensive to me that I can't even. I can't. I'm not even. I can't do it. I can't do it. All right.